Next, we've got a question from Carson. If Netflix buys Warner Brothers, will they bring back the Snyder Verse since they have a working relationship with Zack Snyder? Could we see his Justice League sequel? And if they do that, does that mean they'll get rid of James Gunn and the new DCU stuff? Okay. Jesus Christ. All right. Warner Brothers, it is for sale. And Netflix is now viewed by some to be the favorite to buy the company, the most likely. So let me explain the order of events that we have happening here and how that can all impact DC. So David Ellison of Skydance, which just bought Paramount, he wants WB bad, despite him recently pretending that they could take it or leave it, and it's not a big deal. It's a total negotiation tactic and a way to save face if it begins to look more and more like Skydance Paramount won't be the winning bidder for WB. So this sale of WB, it has sparked a lot of discourse online, a lot of discussion about what happens if Skydance buys WB. What does that mean for DC Studios? Does James Gunn get shit canned, and does the DCU get rebooted once again? To that, I've been very clear. No, of course not. James Gunn and this new DCU, they are one of many crucial assets that WB has right now. One of the top, valuable assets that they have. And Ellison, Skydance, they would be crazy to just toss that in the trash. And I was proven right on that because Ellison has come out and said that he very much wants to keep James Gunn and the creative team of DC Studios in place. But what did finally get me a little nervous about if they were to buy, because I never wanted them to buy Warner Brothers in the first place, and I'll talk about that a little bit in a second, but I was never actually worried that it would mean that James Gunn and the DCU would be in trouble. That was until when David Ellison managed, a week or two ago, I think it's been 2 weeks now, he managed to run off Paramount's most crucial asset, one of their top dogs over there at Paramount, one of their golden whatevers, a golden duck or something, golden goose, geeses, Taylor Sheridan, the creator of Yellowstone, Landman, Wind River, Sicario, Mirror of Kingstown, Hell or High Water. I could go on. He's brilliant, and even if his stuff's not for you, which all of his stuff's, not for me. A lot of it is. I like a lot of what he's done. He's really never missed. And he has made Paramount a shit ton of money. This dude is Paramount Plus. So David Ellison's unique ability to run off the most valuable creator Paramount had was the first time that I ever feared for James Gunn and the DCU if they got sold to Skydance. Not because I think that Ellison would fire Gunn. I don't think he's that stupid. Maybe he is. I'm actually worried now because I think that Gunn could want to get the fuck out of there if Ellison comes into DC Studios after buying them and wants to play my dick's bigger than yours and try to change all of Gunn's plans and push a certain agenda on him. That is something. Look, Ellison would have every right to do it as the CEO of the company. But just because you have the right to do it doesn't make it right. And look, I've never been a fan of Ellison and Skydance getting WB. I'm not even a fan of WB selling in the first place. But I've also never been big on the idea of Netflix buying them either, because I don't like the idea of a streaming service owning Warner Brothers, because I'm very committed, as are many of you, to the theatrical experience. And while Netflix has certainly been opening up to the idea of putting their films in theaters more and more, that's super encouraging, but they're a streaming company. They still prioritize streaming. And I don't want WB to eventually just become a studio that makes streaming movies. I don't want that. But, if Netflix, say they do get their hands on WB, let me finally address your question. Snyder Bros, they think that would somehow mean, the Snyder Verse will be restored because Zack Snyder worked with Netflix to make his Rebel Moon movies and that Las Vegas zombie movie, which I actually quite liked. But, guys, Rebel Moon, and I haven't seen Rebel Moon, so I will not dare cast judgment on it or its sequel because I have not seen them. But those movies, they are loathed. And Snyder's DCEU, it was an epic failure. And I say that as someone who really liked Man of Steel. But that DCEU, and it wasn't just Snyder, it was dead. It was unrecoverable. So, no, absolutely not. No way in hell will we see the Snyderverse restored and the DCU abandoned. Maybe we could see them give like Snyder an outlet to continue his story and like follow up Justice League in like an animated realm on Netflix. That could be neat, maybe, but I don't know that James Gunn would be down for that simply because he's putting together his own thing. And, why compete with yourself essentially if you're building up to like a similar story? But I guess if it's different enough, like if Gunn's not going right into Justice League, then maybe it would be okay to do like the Snyder Justice League animated. And regardless of if Netflix buys Warner Brothers, I think James Gunn is actually Snyder's best bet at even getting that. Because, I mean, him and Snyder, they appear to be friendly with each other. They are friendly with one another. But no, to answer the question, the Snyderverse, the DCEU, Snyder's Justice League 2, it's not happening ever. It's done, okay? Your best bet would be if Netflix or even Gunn without Netflix gave him like an animated series or something to continue the story. And, it just keeps coming back around to Gunn really being the best path forward for any, revisiting of that DCEU, because it's a guy like James Gunn who might be willing to bring in some Snyderverse stuff in like a multiversal story later on. Maybe have Henry Cavill be like a Kingdom Come Superman. I could also see Gunn being willing to like try to bridge this divide in the DC fandom. And it's really not a divide, implies it's like an even split. It's more like 95-5. But anyway, try to bridge like that divide and bring on Zack Snyder to do like some DCU projects. And Snyder and Netflix, having worked together previously, could increase the chances of that happening if Netflix buys Warner Brothers and DC. But for the love of God, you guys, the Snyder Bros, you got to let it go, okay? You got to let it go. It's done. Move on. Get a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Get off the PlayStation. Move on with your life, okay? All right. I feel like I'm being a dick, but seriously, you gotta move on. It's a fucking movie. All right, next. Hey everybody, Colton here, and this is the mailbag style show where I take your questions about Marvel, Star Wars, DC, movies and streaming in general. Whatever you want to ask, send it in to the email address askcoltonnow@gmail.com. Link in the description below. And hey, maybe you'll see your question featured right here on the show. And guys, I get a lot of questions sent to the mailbag, and I wish I could answer every single one of them, but sometimes I just can't get to them all. But if you are a channel member, that will guarantee that you get one of your questions answered for each episode of the show. So if you want to support the channel in that way, it is very much appreciated, makes it possible for us to keep doing the show, and it puts your question at the top of the list to be answered right here on the channel.